Hey everyone, this is Britt Lightning from Vixen, and you are listening to Tom and Zeus on the Shout It Out Loudcast.
Oh boy. Here we go. This is Gene Simmons. Put that cookie down. Kiss. I'm pressing the button. Stockbroker Simmons. Star? Paul Stanley. Is that what he does? Stop shouting. My name is Ace Riley. He's not what you would call a handsome man. Oh no, here come the kiss times. Is that a positive thing? Okay. Alright. I'm gonna grab me an ice cold mellow yellow. Why? Why do that to the fan? Stop it. Why? Because fuck them. That's what are you talking about? 617-525-0850. You do? Hey, fucko. Do you like Kiss? Settle down.
Hello, and what's up there, Kiss Army? Tom and Zeus, another episode of Shout It Out Loudcast, episode 315, Destroyer Retrospective with author James Campion.
Yeah, this is something we've kind of had in the tank for a little bit because we've already obviously reviewed Destroyer, but our friend James holds that near and dear to his heart, so we figured we'd bring him back and pick his brain a little bit more about how he thinks about the album.
Yeah, it's a something we've been trying to get done for a while until we finished all the albums. We finished all the albums, so now we can always go back and do different things with each album. And James is one of those guys like, hey, can I come on when you do Destroyer? We're like, yeah, no.
We love you, but no.
We've done this, and there's been others that are like, hey, I want to talk about this, or whether it's Jericho wants to come on and talk about Crazy Nights or something else, or Bubba Ray wants to come in and talk about Alive. Like, there's certain things that it's just Tom and I. And so as soon as we finish, we were like, all right, well, let's get them back. So that's what we're doing today. But before we do that, we're going to go back to our Hit and Run 4 episode. And we did a poll last week. What was that?
Yep. So we said, which of the songs that were played on that short tour set list would you want to see added to a regular Kiss set list? The options were All American Man, Making Love, She, and Nothing to Lose. And of course, this poll proves our point. People want something new and different. All American Man runs away with the poll at 43%. Making Love and She tied at 20%. Nothing to Lose at 18%. Because a lot of people have already heard those songs on certain tours. All American Man, never.
Test 1 2. Test 1 2.
Is everything working over there, Tom?
Oh, yeah, everything's working great. We're good here.
Okay.
Jocko Johnson, whose Twitter handle is Game Show Lover, he has a meme of Kramer talking to the doctor and saying, "You're the ass man." And it says Tom and Zeus in a pre-production meeting. Yes, a lot of people were very excited about that part of the episode. And not really the hit. The ass man.
Oh.
My dad, meanwhile, had taken to calling me Stanley Fat Ass.
Oh, just making sure there's a difference between the two, right?
There's a difference between Ass Man and Stanley the Fat Ass. Yes. Poor Murph goes, how did I enter the conversation? Yeah, poor Murph. Our buddy Steve. Oh, this is good. There is a world of difference between busty nurse Susan fingering your ass and burly Bob bending you over and bumming you senseless. Yeah, Steve, thank you. There really is a difference. We didn't need you to clarify that first, but thank you.
No, that's a difference for Tom. It's not for me.
Oh, okay. Herschel Walker Kyler says, Ace, you're not supposed to use Magic Mind as a suppository. Chase really helps me. Good stuff.
It gets me concentrating when I'm on the stage and I'm singing great classics like Genghis Khan.
All right, and that's what we got for Twitter this week. Over to you, Zeus, for some Facebooking.
All right. Oh, no. Fucking A. Kevon Japson.
Uh-oh.
Giggity.
He writes, holy fuck. The first 10 minutes may be the funniest shit in SIOL history. Welcome, new listeners. I was fucking crying with a bunch of laughing emojis. Darren Hunt. I'm with Zeus. Stuff in your butt is definitely gay.
Nope.
LOL. Yep. The great Jason Warden. Man, those first few minutes never disappoint, boys. Real life sexual preference discussion that are part of everyday life. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Bobby Kenner says, man, I had to pause temporarily listening to this at the gym so I didn't hurt myself. That opening was balls out hilarious. However, it has me dreading my next physical and bringing back flashbacks of Marcellus Wallace in the GIMP scene of Pulp Fiction.
I just like the fact that the next time he goes to his doctor and gets a prostate exam, he's just going to be thinking of us the entire time.
Tyler Keeley says, I was at the show when Paul had his problems. Very weird, but awesome show. If I remember correct, Kiss had a poll for what deep cut they should play on this tour. The only other song I remember being there was Let Me Know. I voted for All American Man. It was bummed Paul wasn't there. So I knew I wasn't going to hear that. But anything y'all want to know, I'll answer to the best of my memory. Okay.
Wow. I love that. I knew that people were going to be at the show. I love that seeing that tour.
Anthony, don't call me Mike Hunt. As my mate Gilly says, it's not gay if it's a chick doing it to you.
Exactly correct. Thank you. 100% right.
Your friend Gilly's gay.
It's 100%. He's 100%.
But he's into some
right.
real wacky shit.
Nope. He's 100% right.
Absolutely wrong. That is gay shit, and
It's
like
not.
gay shit. That's okay.
Fine. Fine.
I don't care if my partner is bisexual. It's okay.
You don't have to care about. We're a very diverse operation here. Okay.
Philip Melander says the years
They were throwing things at you.
Philip Melander. The years 2005 to 2007 were the low point of Kiss.
That's such a great point. That was like the dead zone for them.
Yeah. Rob Goad says he was there. All right.
Wow.
Over on Loudcasters, the great John Whiteman says, I had to check my phone for about 5 minutes in because I thought I was listening to a different Kiss podcast.
Nope. It was still us.
Joey Hall of Famer Romanek. Is there a Hall of Fame category for show openings? If so, we found this year's entry.
Could be. We're always expanding the field of Hall of Fame categories, so you never know.
The great Frank Anzalone, also known as a litmus test episode. Can you hang? Are you sick, twisted, demented enough to just not give a fuck? That first 10 minutes was comedy gold that those in our early 50s beyond can truly appreciate. I almost forgot what the episode was actually about.
Don't worry, so did we.
Yeah. There's a few you guys that are just sick bastards about this anal shit.
We're testing the waters of our new format, so I'm glad you guys like it.
Apparently, this is a little bit yikes. All right. Let's go to YouTube.
Never gets old for me.
Shiksta with Chutzpah.
Nice.
My absolute favorite introduction you guys have ever done. Michelle Lockhart says, my partner and I went to the Sault Ste. Marie. She accepted Tommy and Eric after this show. They did All American.
Nice.
Chef Salami Tits says, absolute gold. That was hilarious.
What a fucking name. That might be a category. Hall of Fame screen names. That could be one.
Yeah.
Game show lovers a nominee.
Mark Ibrahim wrote, I'm bisexual. It's the best way to be. Oh, all righty then.
See what happened? Oh,
yeah.
God bless.
Rudio Royo Garcia wrote a very nice long post. It's just a little too long. We want to move on and get on with James. But everyone, I suggest go over to YouTube and go read what he had to say. Great comment. Thank you very much for jumping in. And over to you, Tom.
Okay, let's get a couple things here with Instagram. Frozen Tears Official, which is our buddy Thanos's awesome band he's got, Oh dear, I feel violated, Zeus. Too much information, brother. As for the tour, as you both would say, horrendous. Not too long after that, they started the Alive 35 tour right in the back door. I hope that's a pun intended. Melbourne, in front of 70,000 people at the Melbourne Grand Prix. Wow. Dave Rockstar says, thanks, Zeus, for now making men afraid to visit the doctor.
That wasn't my point. You should honestly, and no joke aside, a little public announcement, get that fucking shit tested.
Oh, absolutely.
Way too many people. And if you get an aggressive form of prostate cancer or anything like that, you don't have much time. That shit gets
no. Right.
You're
right.
done. So please get tested once a year.
Right. I mean, because it's a 2-for-1. You get tested for cancer, and it feels good.
Here we go. And then when Tom's feeling good, I'm gonna have Heavy Mayo come over and be like,
"What?
Tom,
Now
that was Heavy Mayo. That wasn't his thumb. That was the little piece of little Heavy Mayo."
Okay, now that is gay. Now, there's anything wrong with that. Okay,
you're like, "Oh, I felt good." Okay.
Oh, jeez.
Like,
all right, let's get a
Heavy Mayo.
Let's get a couple emails here. As long as he does it while he's doing a drum solo, then it's all good.
Oh. I would rather get another prostate exam than fucking get another one of his drum solo videos sent to us. Oh my God, buddy.
All right. Emails. Gino Dvoracek. Hey guys, I wanted to thank you. Monday, I was having a horrible day. I was extremely depressed and feeling really down. While I was at work, I put on your latest episode, and shortly after, I was practically on the floor with laughter, listening to you guys argue about a finger up your ass. And Tom, when you say welcome new listeners, I picture listening for the first time expecting Kiss talk right off the bat, but instead hear that stuff. It just made me realize that I can always count on SIOL. Thank you. Oh,
hey, Gino, you hit the nail on the head. Do you know how many times we'll get a comment from people like, what the fuck is this? Like, I don't get it. These guys don't even get into the episode until like 30 minutes in or whatever. Yeah, that happens quite often.
That's okay. Yeah. Our buddy Scott Greer. What a great topic for an episode. All-American Man on a set list. Sign me the fuck up. It was good to see that tune and a handful of deeper cuts on a set list, but like you said, too many of what became the standard fare. Some bands dig deep into their catalog when playing a small venue. The stadiums and huge arenas tend to lend themselves to the hits, which I can understand. But sometimes in every crowd are some true hardcore fans who would like to be thrown a bone with a deep cut. By the way, is this episode also known as JASFA, which stands for Jelly Ass and Stanley Fat Ass?
It's squinching, like Fat Bastard says.
And then he also finishes up the email by saying, I gave a 5-star child review on Amazon for Raise Your Glasses. What a great book. Hard to put down, and I have so many pages dog-eared to go back and listen to those tracks again. Kudos to you and everyone who participated. Awesome, Scott. Great stuff. Yes, please, if you guys still have not gotten around to telling your friends, your family, or you yourself don't have a copy of Raise Your Glasses, go to Amazon or go to our website, shoutoutloudcast.com. The link is right there on the homepage. You will not be disappointed. Our buddy Mark Bomer, Tom and Zeus, thanks for opening the lid on the 4-ounce can that was the Hit and Run tour, the duration of which was shorter than Zeus's annual health probe. If Hall of Fame designations could be awarded for Question of the Week, Matt certainly earned one when he wondered at what point Kiss should have retired while on top. My knee-jerk thought was right after Alive 2. While perhaps a sales correct and Gallup poll correct thought, it's ultimately not right, as doing so at that point would have robbed us of many Kiss albums of remarkable brilliance, even if we had to suffer through some abject pieces of shit on the way. But Tom nailed it, right after the 96-97 reunion tour and no further. It's just tragic to me that the band couldn't coexist 2 to 3 years after reuniting before Ace and Peter had again become incapable of delivering studio-worthy performances on Psycho Circus. Sadly, that truth cannot be undone. Ultimately, the fuel jewels that really do exist in Psycho Circus, Sonic Boom, and Monster came nowhere close to offsetting the tarnish that grew on the band for simply staying around too long. God bless men, and thank you. Ooh, great stuff, Mark. That's a very insightful comment. And we got our last email here. I love this one because I am a conspiracy theory. I love conspiracy theories. Love them. This is from our buddy Adam Nierenberg. Gentlemen, I was listening to the episode, and there was one thing you didn't mention regarding the Saboba show when Paul didn't play. At that show, Gene was actively filming an episode of Family Jewels. If I remember, Gene's dog got lost, and everyone was involved in the episode except Paul. They showed Gene and Chip Magoo running in and out of Paul's room, and an ambulance quietly driving away. Then Gene comes out. I have drawn my own conclusions, but what I think is that Paul didn't want to be part of the episode, threw a hissy fit, took his ball, and went home. Or you can believe that Paul had a cardiac issue. You can decide for yourself. I fucking love that conspiracy ad. I'm not saying I believe it, but I'll tell you this. It's 100% believable, because even in Gene's most recent interview he did with Billy Corgan, we'll talk about during news, even Gene comments specifically that Paul fucking hated that Gene was doing Family Jewels. Hated it. I love the conspiracy. I'm not going to say I sign off on it, but it's good stuff there, Adam. And Zeus, let's throw it back to you to wrap up feedback.
Yeah, that's not what happened. There's no way he went to that extent to say I had a heart attack and tell the fans and stuff. No way. I just, whatever. But anyways, over on our Facebook page, the great Chris Hall, you're crazy if you believe Paul Stanley told Gene Simmons, don't let the fans down while he was being wheeled out on a stretcher. The only thing he would be screaming is, I'm too important. Don't let me die. Don't let me die. Don't let me die. Now that I believe that there's no way Paul was like, Gene, you got to do it for the fans. No way that shit happened either.
Just do it for Johnny, man.
Yeah, do it for Johnny. Chris Hall, for that, my friend, you are comment of the week.
Good answer. Good answer. I like the way you think. I'm going to be watching you.
Love it. Great stuff. Great stuff. I love that. That's awesome. I love these cynical Paul fans.
Speaking of great stuff, Tom, let's get over to our Patreon family. Patreon has been a place where people can support the show. They make a monetary contribution. You can go to 4 different tiers of what level you want to help and contribute to the show. And with that, you get 4 different tiers worth of perks back from the show. There's always merchandise. There's polls. There's picks. There's ARC picks, which is going out already. Yep. Can't believe it. Again, it's out already for the ARC pick. And plenty more stuff that we offer. Input, video chats, you name it, we do it. And so Patreon, you can go to our Shout It Out Loudcast website.
Go to him.
And then click on it's right on the landing page. Click on the Patreon icon and check out which tier you want to join. Again, it's there to help the show, and Patreon's been able to do that for years now. And for all those that are wondering, the dedication and the absolute incredible contributions from our Patreon family has helped this show grow tremendous. And we will continue to grow with our Patreon family. And if you want to help us out and you want to see the show succeed, Patreon is the best way to support us, guys. Go to patreon.com or go again to shoutitoutloudcast.com. Pick one of the 4 tiers and join in the family fun. Thank you.
Guys, thank you so much. You're the best. Again, so many different things we offer with Patreon. It's a great way for you to help us out, show support, and we always give back for the support that you're showing us. So please, thank you to everybody who's part of the amazing Patreon family, regardless of what tier you're at. You are all amazing. So thank you so much. Please check us out. Go to our website, click on the link to learn more, or download the app and search for us.
Tom, what's going on in Kiss World?
So kind of one of the things a lot of people are talking about is Billy Corgan, of all people, has a brand new podcast called The Magnificent Others. And it's a one-on-one interview podcast. And the very first episode was Gene Simmons. Now, I'll say this. I have a newfound respect for Billy. Zeus and I were texting the other night. I'm not really a Pumpkins fan that much anymore these days. And it's primarily because Billy Corgan seems to be kind of a pain in the ass. However, this was his niche. He was affable, friendly, super knowledgeable. And I think it's because he's in a huge band himself, and he gets it. And he's a super music nerd and a super Kiss fan. And he was really holding Gene accountable and holding his feet to the fire. A lot of these interviews, Gene tries to navigate. And I will tell you right now, there's no bigger Gene fan than me. Gene was a obnoxious pain in the ass during this thing, to the point where Billy kind of had to like say, okay, I want to continue making my point with my question. And Gene was like Billy, like one point, Billy Corgan was like, oh, Gene, do you understand what I'm saying? Does that make sense? He's like, oh yeah, it does, but I'd rather make dollars. I'm like, Jesus, really, Gene? Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't think Gene wanted to have the conversation that Billy was trying to have. So, but that's why I loved the interview. So that's kind of in the news. I subscribe to the podcast. Episode 2 is Tom Morello. As of right now, I haven't had a chance to listen. Can't wait. So highly, highly recommend it. I'm interested to see what you guys think of that.
So, with that interview, I agree with you 100%. I couldn't stand Gene in this interview. Shut the fuck up. Let him talk.
Pain in the ass.
He's asking you the question. And you know what? Like most people, they just let Gene do his shtick and go on.
Exactly.
He was like, no, that's not what I'm saying. He's trying to give Gene credit, and Gene was being so deflective and just, he wasn't letting it go. Like, dude, he's trying to give you combo. I think you guys are a great band. I think, like, dude, what the fuck, man? Let him get his question. He's like, that's not what I'm saying. I'm trying to give you credit for this. Oh, who cares? Do you know? And he repeats the same. We released 4 solo albums on the same day. I'll feed that up. Like, no shit, dude. We know this stuff. Dude, the stuff that he was saying, like, he's right. This is 95, 96. You know how big fucking Smashing Pumpkins was? And
as big as you can get.
Dying to get there to see them play at Tiger Stadium when they came back. And he's telling the story as big as he is. You guys are my heroes. He talks about having the fucking Destroyer, the Spirit of 76 poster in his house. Like, Gene is like, come on, dude.
And then the other thing, it was just annoying. And I love Gene. And Gene was like, oh, in other big words like gymnasium. Like he said that joke like twice,
a million times. Gene.
I'm like, what are you talking? And then Billy Corgan would say something, and Gene would be like, oh wow, I'm impressed. Like Gene, no offense, you think you're the only person that knows anything? Like it was the first time where I was like,
not very likable.
No,
he was annoying.
No, I'm glad you agree because I was really getting frustrated for Billy. And I love Gene. I've always thought, but to me, this was the first time, and we both said it. You're right. Gene wanted to control the narrative, and Billy was like, "No, that's not what I'm saying. Let me finish my point."
And it was complimentary of him.
Yes,
and the band.
Yes,
but I did like him the way he went into it about Ace, and he was very complimentary towards Ace. Again, he had to get his kind of shots in on Peter. I don't understand this stuff. Even what do you call it? Saying it's like, he had a jazz sound, which brought to the music. And Gene was kind of admitting that. And they talked about the early sound a little bit like that. But Gene Krupa, like amongst many stories that he says about Gene Krupa, and they're all entertaining. Like, why do you have to fucking
minimizing everything?
Yeah, and just completely mocking him. Like, a lot of Peter's stories.
And I was surprised too, and I was kind of sharing Billy's annoyance because, like, Billy's point was that a lot of people out there kind of minimize and crap on Kiss.
Yeah.
And during the interview, Gene was too.
Yeah.
Gene was
there
like,
are 1,000
right.
bands better than us.
Yeah, we're all right. We wrote some. Gene was pretty much almost saying, yeah, we were all right, but it was pretty much the makeup and the blood and the explosions that got us where we are.
Like money. He was, and I like
the money. Yeah, because Billy was like, when you feel, when you were struggling, the 80, 82 area, Gene's like, yeah, but when you realize you have all this money, I'm like, God, you sound like such a fucking asshole right now, dude.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it.
I did like that retrospective, like the question that he was asking, when did you feel?
Yes,
like there was something wrong, and he got him to admit 79.
Yep.
So that was interesting. And it was a good conversation. I just, for the first time in a while, he started to remind me of Paul. Same canned answers. Everything's he's got to be on his game. He's in character.
Exactly.
Get his shtick out.
Yep. It was.
We know
it
all
was
about
rough.
people being in character and getting their shtick out, huh?
Yes.
Yeah,
exactly.
They get their fucking character out. Anyways, that I agree with you, Tom. The interview was both great and annoying.
I'm glad that we share that, so I'm anxious to see what other people think. Other than that, not much. I don't know if you came across anything along your way during the week, but I didn't see much.
I'm still touring out there right now these days, kicking ass. Woo.
Selling multiple colored vinyl swirls of Trouble Walking and some of my other vinyl.
Yeah, and then we already talked about the news about like coming out or what might be coming out from Kiss. Well, we'll have some exciting stuff to talk about pretty soon. Yeah, and with all this stuff going on too, when I know I need to be on top of my game to handle box sets coming out, fucking supposedly new off the soundboards, all sorts of stuff coming out. My mind can't take it. That's why, Tom, I jump on Magic Mind. I'm telling you, people, it works. If you have to deal with me, you would find out real quickly that I'll be talking about 15 things in 5 minutes because my mind's all over the place. I started using this stuff and it gets me focused. And someone with my ADHD and mind or is all over the place with ideas, it just gets me centered. It gives me that boost and that energy that I want. I know that people our age find themselves in sometimes a lethargic manner or losing their train of thought. This shit works, man. It works.
It's great. I'm telling you right now, I take one every morning. It's a little shot. It doesn't replace my coffee because I still drink my coffee. Yeah, and you could call it like a mental performance shot. It's got tons of incredible naturally occurring vitamins. You name it. The stuff's incredible. 100% safe. It's not a quick fix. It doesn't replace your coffee. And it really keeps you focused. It gives you energy. And we're at that point right now where, we're getting older. We're, probably not sleeping great, doing a lot of stuff here with recording and traveling for work, et cetera, et cetera. The stuff is fantastic. We've been using it for a while now. We continue to use it. And I'm telling you right now, you have a limited offer that you guys can use right now that can get you up to 48% off your first subscription or a one-time purchase. You get 20% off with a code at checkout, and that's SOL20, not SIOL20. It's SOL20. You can go right to the website, magicmind.com/SOL20. Telling you guys are not going to be disappointed. The stuff's fantastic. Please check it out. Go to the website. Read all about it. They're great. We use it, and it's got a cumulative effect. So each time you use it, it slowly builds. It provides, so it's not like one of these other things that you might take. It really works. Check it out, magicmind.com, and use the code SOL20. Get a discount. We want to hear from you when you try it out.
Yeah, Tom, I can't wait to hear back from our people, so honestly. But in the meantime, let's take a quick little break. Ace wants to go get on the poop slide and go down your backyard and be, oh, jeez, with Vinny, with all these dead dogs, who's making the poop for the poop slide? Oh, it must be me. Oh.
All right, we're back. Yeah, we're getting a lot of snow here in New England right now, and thank God it covers up all the poop slides that Ace has been doing in the backyard because it's getting kind of it's bad enough. I got to clean up my dog when he shits in the snow. Ace is just having a real tough time, so it's rough.
We gotta make a tilt with all that snow there.
Ugh.
Oh, we gotta make
poop
sure
slide. the poop slide.
Oh, I dropped my toothbrush in the poop slide. That's all right.
Oh God.
All right, Tom. Let's do what we're going to do, and that is bring in the great author James Campion.
So joining us once again, our longtime friend and author extraordinaire, but more importantly, the highest accolade you can achieve.
I forgot.
Is Shouted Out Loudcast Hall of Famer, James Campion is back to talk some Destroyer. What's happening, my friend?
Gentlemen, it's always an honor and a pleasure being on this program, and especially now with my new salutation, and I love it. Thank you.
Now, do you use that on your email signature when you send out your professional emails? You author, publisher, SIOL Hall of Famer?
I don't, but I did try to get a couple of free beers in Austin last weekend by saying it, but it didn't. It didn't work.
It didn't work?
No.
God damn it. Yeah, sometimes we need to get you that challenge coin, that Shout It Out Loudcast coin.
Yes.
That might work.
Paul tried that last week, and then this happened.
Somebody spat in my face.
Oh yeah, James. I think James may be the first guest to enjoy our sound drops.
Yes. And I've been enjoying it as a fan and a listener.
Yes.
Here's one for you guys to keep the tradition going. The first time I was on this show, I believe it was to talk about the box set, maybe, or I forget why I was on the show. Maybe plug my.
You were on to promote your book.
Right, and it was like either early 2021 or 2022. It was like right when I got COVID, and don't you know, I have another cold, so I 2 for 2. Yeah,
okay.
I know you guys went through a tough winter, so I'm right there.
Yeah. But
we're in the middle of it right now.
You weren't sick when we had you on ARC. When we did Rod Stewart.
That is true.
That's right.
I broke the string
right.
there. Right?
That's
Very
That's
true.
right. That's right.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun.
We kind of referenced this in the beginning of the episode where we said basically, look, when we do our album reviews, Tom and I always want to do it just us. So you were one of many, like, hey, I want to come on to do Destroyer. And we're like, yeah.
No, I got it.
Our last one, and we haven't done it yet. We're not going to be able to do it this way. You know, we were saying Jericho and a few others have been like, hey, can I come on and talk about this? And we're like, that would be awesome, but no. And you know how hard it was to say no to some of the people?
Yeah.
And same thing here with you, because I think you're synonymous with the album Destroyer. And as soon as we got Destroyer done and we finished all our albums, like, we can go back. We can do whatever we want now. It's an open forum. So we can talk about these albums in different manners and formats. And this way we're doing it now, Destroyer, as a retrospective, going back and hearing from the guy that basically wrote the book on Destroyer. And you did. And so we'd love to get your feedback on the album. Not so much your book and all the little details, all as wonderful as it is. We just kind of want to talk about the album itself.
I love the idea of just shooting the shit you get with as a fan here. And just as an addendum to what you said, I'm glad I didn't come on because when I first broached it, I had not heard one of your album reviews. And when I did, I thought, okay, this is great. Because you could speak freely about what you really feel. If you have a guest on who wrote about the album, you don't want to, you'll be constantly apologizing. I know you wrote the book, James, but I can't stand blah, blah, blah. So you guys were able to speak freely. And as a listener, I think that's, serving your listeners as I try to do with my readers. So I applaud that.
Thank you.
No, anything you guys want to talk about with Destroyer, you know, it's my favorite Kiss record and it's my favorite period as well. Like, you know, even though I've come to, and it's funny because I just finished a Prince book and it's coming out this year.
Oh, can't wait. Yes. Cannot wait.
Thank you both. About the Revolution period.
Oh.
And I never really loved his 81, Dirty Mind into controversy period as much as the mid 80s.
Exactly.
But having written that book now and having watched all those early concerts, they were like a punk band.
Totally.
Oh my goodness, so great, so raw, so rockin', playing these small clubs, people just fist pumping and headbanging. It's crazy when you think of Prince, you don't think of that, but that was the joy of writing that book. So I feel the same way about that very early Kiss. So when I wrote this book and I read about the feedback of the original fans, I totally understood. It's like, what are you doing in my band, you know? But then I realized that as much as that's true, getting back to the Prince analogy, I love that mid-'80s sort of psychedelic, rock and roll, big pop star Prince, experimental guy, the same way I love post-Destroyer, you know, big-time comic book, huge shows, blowing up stuff, and the characters becoming much more vivid. Because when I read those little notes from Kiss Alive, which was my first Kiss record, I was 12 years old or 13, I was transported. I believed it. I believed that those guys were real characters. You know, I wasn't so young where I was like, hey, you know, it's like Mickey Mouse or Santa Claus or something.
Right.
But I did buy in because I loved Alice Cooper and I bought into that, the way you buy into a horror movie or a comic book. And so when Destroyer came out, that cover, the sound of that record, and it just filled my head with, as a young kid, with so many, and as Bob says during when I interviewed him for the book, I went for the cinematic thing. I wanted kids, young people to be sitting there with their record and imagining, the demon and the love child and all these different things that are going on in the Kiss pantheon, which before that did not exist. And of course, after that, it absolutely did. Gene was always the demon, and Ace, Space Ace, and everybody embraced that all the way through the solo album. So that's really kind of my first thoughts on Destroyer in that period.
Yeah, I mean, so when we did our album review on it, and you've listened to us, we're grateful to have you as a friend and a fan and all that, and that's amazing. When we do our album reviews, and when we do any episode, we're as honest as you can possibly be, and we would like to think that that's kind of the strength of our show, that we're not serving anybody or anyone, and we're not doing stuff for clicks and excitement. And I like Destroyer. I mean, you'd be foolish to say that no Kiss fan dislikes Destroyer. But for me, all the things, it's kind of weird about how I feel about it. I'm interested to see if you feel this way or maybe not. That to me, Destroyer, it's like my band became formed to be for people that don't like the band. Meaning, like, you had those 3 albums and you had a live. You had just like a raw, like, your Prince analogy is spot on. I love that, and I love Prince, so that's a great analogy. And then Destroyer comes along, and now we're going to make things cinematic and souped up and orchestral and just incredibly perfectly arranged, and it is good. But I feel like, and when we talked about this during the episode when we did the review, that it to me it's like Zeppelin 4. Where it's so regarded as royalty that I feel like it precedes, its reputation precedes itself. Because for me, again, Zeppelin is top 2-3 band of all time. To me, there's a lot of stuff on Zeppelin that's like just not good for me on Zeppelin 4. And the same thing with Destroyer. But these are the greatest albums ever made. And I think for me, being that selfish Kiss fan, I was like, no, it's not. Like, Dress to Kill is way better than Destroyer. So, and I get, and I know Zeus, I think that's why the album review episode I had with Zeus was so great, was that we were really getting to that. You're a fan of Kiss. You're a fan of this album. Does any of that make sense to you when I say that? And how do you feel about that kind of that take?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I listened to your guys' take on the Super Bowl. And I think it was spot on. Like, the Super Bowl is not for football fans. It's an event. So you're saying, in a sense, Kiss fans who listen to the first 3 albums and all that, they might have been tossed into this different thing. Like, they're going for and Bob Ezrin said it, but your fans are just pimply faced boys, and you need to expand it. You need to get into, women, and you need to get into, like, older people, and you need to, like, really expand. If you want to sell more than 4,000, 7,000, 10,000 records, and he was right, of course. Alive brought in a whole new group of people, and they had no expectations because they had never. That was always the big argument I always had about. We're talking now in retrospect, right? Yeah. 2020, the hindsight, 2020, all that stuff. At the time, Kiss did not sell studio albums.
Right.
They just didn't. And so when they got Bob Ezrin, it was like late 74, they ran into him and they started to recruit him. So before, that was like just after Hotter Than Hell. So they hadn't even done Dress to Kill or written or recorded Rock and Roll All Night, or certainly did not have Live come out. So the idea to go in a different direction and make it bigger and write the songs better and spend more time than a couple of weeks off the road writing these songs and recording these songs, I think was something already in their DNA, or what they were trying to do. But yes, as a fan, it comes out of nowhere. And now if you like those early records, which not enough people did like the early records, which is one of the reasons why they got Ezrin, they sort of battled with that. And certainly it affected Kiss, because they ran right back to, they went to Eddie Kramer and they recorded practically live in a theater, and they did something that was completely different in the same year. That's the funny thing about it. People forget that. Destroyer comes out in like March of 76, and then Rock and Roll Over comes out in October of 76.
Yeah.
So they go from the greatness of Alive selling like crazy during the Christmas season to Destroyer to the famous tour, the Spirit of 76 tour, and then they're doing Rock and Roll Over, to the point where when they do the Lynn special, the Halloween special, they play all the Destroyer songs.
Mm-hmm.
It's very weird, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even though their new record is Rock and Roll Over, they're playing Beth and Detroit Rock City. So it was happening fast for those guys too, I think.
Yeah.
Couple things. Destroyer seems to me to be Kiss in Wizard of Oz when Dorothy lands in Oz.
Yeah.
Gone is the black and white Kiss.
Yeah, it's
All of a sudden, these people are now live and in color. Look at the album cover and then look at the previous three. That thing is colorized, larger than life, a completely different image. Superstar, rock gods, monsters, characters, superheroes, whatever you want to call it. And then look at the, them in, it's funny, them in Dress to Kill with the suits on, right? And then it's kind of like, what the fuck is going on in Hotter Than Hell? There's like an orgy scene here. What the hell is that? And the Japanese symbols, like, what? And then the original, still silver, black and white, kind of like, okay, this is what their faces look like. This is the characters coming to life and Kiss coming out. And they do that with getting rid of the three no-name producers before that to go into Bob Ezrin and now having a big-time producer coming out. And that's just my first thought. It's a whole new era. The old Kiss, band, garage band is gone. The superheroes are here now. Then the second is the album itself. Yeah, I agree with Tom somewhat. Led Zeppelin 4 is great. It still has 4 sticks on it, and that song sucks. So, you may
Battle
have
of Evermore.
Yeah, but then it's so overtaken because of the brilliance of the songs that people like. When the Levee Breaks, obviously Stairway, Black Dog, and Rock and Roll. Okay, for me, if you look at Destroyer with its 9 songs, side 1, first of all, nothing's going to beat those first 3 songs in a row. But even side 2. Name me a bigger Kiss album that has 3 songs on it, like Beth, Shout It Out Loud, and Do You Love Me? That's about as big as a side of a Kiss album as you're going to get, and that's the second side. That's not even as good as the first side. That's how brilliant this album is. To me, that's why this sticks out. You're not getting bigger songs than Shout It Out Loud, Beth, and Do You Love Me, really, on any Kiss side. Then when you think of what's on side 1, that first 3 run, come on, you're not even close to anything. And by the way, there are people that love Flaming Youth. Me? It's all right. Not a big fan. I really like Sweet Pain. Great Expectations, I don't hate it. Some people love it in the format that it's on. There's nothing to me that comes close to this album. It just doesn't.
I like to unpack a couple of things, if I may, Tom. Can I?
Oh, absolutely. That's why you're here.
Response.
Please,
okay,
please.
So 2 things he sparked, I think, is great. Let's finish up that first part of this conversation, which is the evolution of Kiss. That what I call in my book, they go from a rock oddity to an American icon, and it changes them. Even though they do run back to Eddie Kramer, they do have a cover that's a cartoon for Rock and Roll Over. They do have a painting for Love Gun. They do have that giant Kiss logo for Kiss Alive 2. In essence, they have a cartoon for, even though they have the 4 faces, the painted faces for Dynasty, but then when they go on for Unmasked, again, a cartoon, and then, it almost looks like a drawing or an AI thing for Creatures of the Night. So that changes the way their image is driven. Their marketing, Dennis Wallach, I interviewed him for my book. So the band embraced that. They embraced the costumes. They embraced the idea. They had a movie. They had a comic book, and they had trading cards and all these Halloween masks and all the toys. They went that direction. A lot of Kiss fans hated that, especially the older ones. So you have to give it up for Destroyer to at least it shifted them into a different world. I wanted to say that, in addendum to what Zeus said about the Wizard of Oz, the 3-dimensional colorized kiss. The big kiss, right? They fired all their original roadies and they hired this huge, Marx marketing company in Manhattan, and, they went a different direction. The second thing he said was so smart, because what Ezrin immediately told me, and I think I wrote this in your guys' book, raise your glasses, order one today. It was an excellent read. I was just reading it today.
Thank you, James.
Bob knew you have to open it up strong, and you have to have a cleanser at the end of the first side, which Great Expectation does. So he hits you bang, 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 as Zeus just mentioned. And then even though Great Expectations might be the weakest song on there, it's at least creative and at least flows out of the demon and gives Gene a chance to do his Beatlesque sort of, crooning type of singing, which he's good at.
Yeah.
Then they start out, bam, right off the bat with Flaming Youth, get back into that youth and power theme, which I write about a lot in my book. And then it flows into the final 3 biggies that Zeus just mentioned. So they start strong with 3. They end strong with 3. The rule of 3 they always talk about in plots, whether it's a film or a movie. And, there's something about that. And so when I wrote about Great Expectations in your book, I remembered what Bob said, and I'm not sure I even put it in my book, which is simply he wanted to put something at the end of side 2 because he saw every record he ever produced, whether it was The Wall or Peter Gabriel or those Alice Cooper records or The Babies or anything he produced. He felt that in the time of 1976, everybody was listening to music through records. Some people were cassettes, a few people 8-track, but I grew up then and I could tell you 90% of the audience is listening to records. So at the end of the first side, you cleanse it, you flip it over, and you hit it with something else. So he is listening to that, and that's why I forgive. That's not the right word because I love all of Destroyer. But if you're going to make negative comments about something like Great Expectations, then there's a point I'm trying to make is that Bob looked at it as of a piece, a full piece. So you're going to have lulls and everything. There's not going to be an action in every scene in a film, which accentuates the action later on. So that's a long thing to say. I agree with Zeus in those 2 points he made because I think that went into the actual planning of the record. It's not just a mistake.
It's brilliant, and the Wizard of Oz analogy is great too. And just going back a little bit to your Super Bowl analogy, all these analogies nail it because you're right. The first 3 albums is the regular season of the NFL. Week 8, 9, 10. You're really into it, and Destroyer was the Super Bowl, and the Super Bowl is there to bring in people that don't normally watch weeks 8, 9, and 10 of the NFL. We want to get you in and experience what the NFL is, all the pomp, all the circumstance, all the lights and colors and interactions and special guests, and Destroyer did that. Sometimes I think I'm kind of a victim of my own hypocrisy when I kind of think about how I feel on certain albums, because I always talk about, I have this discussion with my son sometimes because he's into music and pop culture and the whole theory of gatekeeping. Like Kiss is my band. They're not your band. So you like Destroyer, but you only like Destroyer because it's the popular album and it's got all these hit songs. You don't like Hotter Than Hell. You don't even know what Parasite is. And Parasite is not on Destroyer. And the other thing too with me is, and it's kind of like a full circle moment. Almost all the songs on Destroyer that Zeus mentioned, you guys talked about those groups of 3, they're so overplayed and so fatigued and appear on every single compilation and are played on every tour, but that's because they're that fucking good, right? So how can you not love it? That's why some of the albums that I love I love Love Gun's my favorite album because to me, it's the first album where all 4 members play. It's got a great mix of hits, like Love Gun and Plaster Caster and I Stole Your Love, some middling songs, Almost Human or whatever, and then, Shock Me. And then it's got some songs that no one ever listens to, like Hooligan or whatever. Like, to me, but that's kind of being that pretentious Kiss fan. Like, oh, you like Destroy, you need to listen to Love Gun. That's where it's at. You need to listen to Almost Human if you like God of Thunder. So I think I find myself kind of being that it's the same thing with Led Zeppelin 4. I mean, yeah, I love Destroyer, but sometimes it's like I just get, what it is? I get sick of hearing how great it is. And I know that makes no sense, but that's kind of a testament to how ridiculously awesome the album is.
Yeah, well, listen, one of the things that as a Prince fan, getting back to him for a minute, only because I'm steeped in him now, Purple Rain is the perfect rock pop album. I understand that. And for me to say, and I do like Sign of the Times better because it's got way more diversity on it, different styles, and it's just amazing. It's a double album. And I love the early stuff as well. And then even the 90s and 2000 stuff. But people will always go back to Purple Rain. So as a Prince fan, you say, well, you like Purple Rain, like Pink Floyd, you like Dark Side of the Moon, or you like Rumors for Fleetwood Mac instead of the deep cuts or Tusk. I get that. I will say this, though. One last thing on the Super Bowl analogy. Yeah. The thing about the Super Bowl is it's going to sell anyway. I always get the feeling that they're selling us something that already people have bought.
Of course.
Relax. But with Destroyer, they were desperate. They did not realize Kiss Alive was selling while they were rehearsing and getting this stuff together and going through the boot camp with Bob Ezrin. They figured they were trying to save their careers. So their Super Bowl is like they're 1-8. And now they have to play the Super Bowl. I always look at, and I might have used this analogy, it would be like the Little League team having to play the 27 Yankees now. Like, you don't even have a chance to get better or practice. Like, they threw those guys in that cauldron and said, look, we're out of money. Casablanca was going under. They didn't have any money to give them. Poor Bill Aucoin was putting all of the tour stuff on his American Express card. The band was they couldn't keep their clothes. There was big holes in Paul's shoes he talks about. So it is an amazing story about how they created this thing. It looks as though they're this powerhouse thing creating a giant Wizard of Oz or Super Bowl, but really they're just a bunch of paupers posing their way, fake it till you make it. And that is the thing that I adore this record too. Cause I think once you know how the sausage is made, once you know the story behind it and where the band was at, I mean, they were suing Casablanca during this record. Right. I mean, it's a great, great story. And that's why Kiss, I heard you guys talking about this last week about how they did that tour with like 6 shows where they played in front of like 1,000 people at like a corporate event. And you were like, this is the lowest nadir. How did they come out of this to play Madison Square Garden 15 years later? Because they did it with Destroyer. That showed them they could do this. Mm-hmm. And they did it. And nobody could take that away from them.
You're right. I love the story of Destroyer. Almost as much as, or maybe even more than the album itself, which is why your book is just incredible, because the story of how they got there is, I mean, if you're a music fan or just a fan of stories, it's an incredible story. It really is.
It's an American, it is Horatio Alger. It's one of those things where out of nowhere, some guy becomes a superhero, and they did that. Yep.
So when you look at albums and you want to introduce Kiss to somebody, you would give them this album, because these are the songs that can hook a person, even if they're not a Kiss fan. With the exception of God of Thunder, which is tough to like. You got to kind of like Gene's voice, and it's a little heavy. I mean, I love it, and I love all the different versions of God and Thunder. So to me, that sticks out. But King of the Nighttime World, Detroit Rock City, you can... Like, first of all, King of the Nighttime World, Paul's energy, it just makes you feel like you're at a fun-ass party. Detroit Rock City speaks for itself. The lyrics, the music, it's just incredible. Then when you get to Shout It Out Loud, I'm sorry, it's anthem building. You can't escape that. Now, we've heard Beth a million times, and it's not Peter Criss singing, but when you hear Peter Criss singing that song for the first time and you're hearing it, it hooks you. It's different. It's catchy. He sings it well. It's a good story behind the song. You get it. It's not sappy. It's not these guys are trying to put out a ballad. It's very different. Then Do You Love Me? How do you not tap your foot when that drum starts, right? These songs are going to introduce anybody to Kiss, would probably get them hooked. I don't know another album that Kiss has that has enough songs here. Be like, you don't like this? Try this one. I bet you'll like this one. I bet you'll like this one. Name me another album that has that many catchy songs. Now, you can be a Kiss fan and be like, I love these songs, but they're not as accessible to the common music fan as this album is. And that's the difference. And that's why they always go to this and they can promote it, because if you get into this, then you open up your ears and maybe you'll start going into other Kiss songs and albums more so than any other Kiss album out there.
Production.
Go ahead, Tom.
Hold on, just real quick. Sure. Production aside, Zeus, I would probably say the debut album can pull non-Kiss fans in, because there's a really, it's not as hard rocking as Destroyer, but there's a real pop sensibility to Strutter and Firehouse and Nothing to Lose and Deuce and Let Me Know. It's more, so I'm not saying that would be the album I would play for somebody that doesn't know Kiss. It's obviously a little bit thinner and lighter than the weight of Destroyer, but I think those songs on the debut album, pound for pound, song for song, might be the only album in my estimation that could hang with the song for song off. It
might be as good,
right?
But I don't think they're as catchy and popish.
No, I agree. I agree.
And be able, right. I mean, it's just similar, same thing. Are you going to teach somebody that's never heard Nirvana? Are you going to play In the Utero to them?
No.
Or Bleach? Or
no.
The first thing you're going to give them is Nevermind.
Nevermind. Exactly.
All right. And then you can ease them into the other stuff. If you listen to someone listens to In Utero, they might be like, this isn't for me.
Right.
And that's why I feel like this one is.
Yeah. I would give everybody Alive myself. I think Alive captures that band.
Okay.
At their ballsiest, their most, their feet on the ground. They're just something about them. I think you've guys talked about this hundreds of times on this podcast. You use the word hungry. Unrepentant, just trying to, and that's why I loved writing about those early times to lead up to Destroyer, how much that band was worked so hard. So the same guys who are out there across America busting their butt to gain audiences are the same ones that busted their butt to try to make Bob Ezrin happy and make a great record. So I would go with Alive, but I was funny what Zeus said about attracting people. What's the record you would play? It's funny being on Kiss podcasts or talk to Kiss fans about this, because I wrote about Destroyer because there was never a time, especially in college when I was studying music writing and talking to other journalists, when there wasn't a discussion on the great rock albums of the 70s or great albums of the 70s. And I was the only human being who ever brought up Destroyer or any Kiss album for that matter. And how many books are written about Sgt. Pepper's? How many books are written about Pet Sounds? How many books and articles written about Dark Side of the Moon? How many, over and over, nobody paid attention to Kiss at all. So I thought this was the Kiss album that I thought I should go out and bang the drum for. And I think I told you guys when I was on the show a couple of years ago, I was motivated by it because I wrote that article for the Huffington Post, Why Isn't Kiss in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? And I got so much feedback from it. I realized that they're just being overlooked. And as you guys say all the time, when we just talk about the music, that's the thing that matters. But I didn't also want to ignore. It's like writing a book about Babe Ruth and never mentioning he was a baseball player. You could write a pretty damn cool book about Babe Ruth. He did a lot of crazy shit. You could fill volumes, but it all comes from him being a ball player. It all comes from the music, but you can't ignore the face paint, the explosions, the performances, the marketing, the photographs, all of that stuff works. And I don't throw anything out. No baby goes out with the bathwater for me. I think it's all part of a great package. But again, yeah, I mean, with Zeus, it's funny. Zeus is saying, like, for Kiss fans, it's like, oh, you like Destroyer. As Tom was saying, it's like liking, I don't know, Citizen Kane. Everybody says Citizen Kane because it's, but instead of Eraserhead. Why don't you say Eraserhead? That's or you know what I mean? Or why don't you say, I don't know, because Porky's. Yeah. So to me, but if you're not a Kiss fan, you hand over the Destroyer and they're like, holy crap, Kiss did something this good that sounded this good. And I guess that was my motivation as well.
Yeah. I want to ask you something, James, and you can answer both ways. You can answer as a fan or as somebody who researched and wrote a book on Destroyer. You mentioned this earlier tonight. They got Bob Ezrin, and he transformed them into this band, like Zeus described, this larger than life comic book superhero dominant band with these arrangements, these songs, legendary songs. But then they went back to Eddie Kramer, and they went to that raw live sound with Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun and Alive 2, which to me is my favorite era of the band. What? Why? Simple question. Why? Why didn't they continue on? Because we know, us Kiss nerds know that they felt and heard some of the kickback from the diehards.
Yes. There you go.
Songs like Beth and why is there a calliope in this song? What the hell are you doing? What is this?
Yep.
Is that the answer?
Yes, that's the answer. I mean, they panicked.
Yeah.
They panicked.
Okay.
I mean, Bob read me the letter that Bill Aucoin wrote him.
Yeah.
And say we can't abide this. I think the thing that spooked them the most was that they lost Circus Magazine and Cream. They never had Rolling Stone. They never had, Melody Maker. They never had, the Village Voice. They were never going to be the critics' darling. Once they lost the rock magazines that celebrated them, and they started calling, what is happening here? Strings and Kisses lost their mojo, which again blows my mind because they weren't selling records. And in order to have Kiss, they need to sell records. And back in that, everybody says, I loved Beth because I grew up in the 70s where we listened to all kinds of music. Everything. The Carpenters, Deep Purple. The DeFranco family and Jackson 5 and the Rolling Stones and, Black Sabbath. I mean, it was all being thrown at us. We didn't go, oh, that's funk or that's soul or that's disco. It was all coming at us. And if it's good, I like it. And you were kind of expected, whether it's, Aerosmith doing, their song, their ballad, or everybody was expected to do a ballad. I mean, Alice Cooper has a dozen of them, right? And Bob was great at that. So it makes perfect sense that it's on that record, getting to Beth. But but the fans, especially the young fans, you answered it. There was a backlash, but I think what really, really spooked them and spooked Bill Aucoin is that they lost the rock press. And they said, if we lose that, we have no footing. Like, where are we going to go now? And that's why they scrambled so quickly to turn around and do Rock and Roll Over, which as a kid, I was a little disappointed in. Not as a rock writer or somebody who has spent dozens and dozens of years writing and studying all kinds of music. Back then, I just liked what I liked. And I thought we were going in that direction, that big bombastic direction. And when it came back, and it opens with, what does it open with? I Want You or something?
Yep. I Want You.
It just didn't do it for me. I like some of the songs on there, and I wrote about a couple of those songs for your book. Dr. Love and Calling Dr. Love and the other ballad on there, which I absolutely adore.
Hard Luck Woman.
Yeah, but still, that's your answer. I mean, everybody who had anything to do with the record told me that. And I think that's pretty much accepted as the narrative now. They went back there because they were just spooked. Yeah.
So, James, if we had you on for our album review, how would you rank the songs?
It's not fair.
Isn't that something that you would want to do if you came on, right?
Yeah, I do. I would have to put probably Great Expectations would be last. Yeah, it would be last. And then and I'm with you, Zeus. I like Sweet Pain because I like the background singers. I was so glad I was able to find their names and figure them out from Bob. I love that he got funky, which he could do, Gene.
Yep.
I will say Paul Stanley's my favorite Kiss writer, but Gene Simmons is the most diverse by far. It's not even close. Yeah. I mean, it's incredible what he could do.
Agreed.
And he's not unabashed about it too. The reason why Beth is even on the record is he talked Peter into it because Peter's like, I don't know if you want to do this. It's this goofy little ditty that I wrote with my friend. And Gene told him, hey, we're doing Great Expectations. So, so that kind of led to that. After that, I would probably put Do You Love Me? I like Do You Love Me? I don't love it. I think it's a great final song, but I don't love it as much as Flaming Youth, which I would put next. Am I missing something? Yeah, so then I would put the biggies. I'd put Beth and then it's hard to separate King of the Nighttime World from Detroit Rock City, but I'll go Beth, King of the Nighttime World, God of Thunder, Shout It Out Loud, and then number one would be Detroit Rock City, which is my favorite, not only my favorite Kiss song. People ask me why I wrote a book about Hey Jude. I love Hey Jude anyway, whether you're a Beatle fan or not. I think it's an absolutely perfect song. I was on this podcast for ranking the Beatles, and the guy ranked it as number 80 or something. And I said, I just want you to know this. There are not 80 songs written by humans that are better than but anywho.
While I have you on that subject, I'm going to cut you off. And be polite, because you are a guest.
Uh-oh.
Elvis's version of Hey Jude?
Oh, I love it. I love any version
I'm
of
just
Hey
curious.
Okay.
Do you like his version?
That's not my favorite period of Elvis. I think you and I have talked about this off the air. My favorite period is 55 to like 57, right before he goes in the army.
See, there you go. That's the kind of I like Led Zeppelin. I like Led Zeppelin 4. I like Destroyer from Kiss. I like Elvis in the early 50s before he went to the army. You sound like John Lennon. Elvis died when he went to the army.
Elvis. When they told, it's funny when John Lennon found out that Elvis died. He said Elvis died when he went in the army. I just like it. Elvis's range during not to get into an Elvis discussion, but his range vocally then was amazing. I know they had much more timbre and a lot more baritone, and he was a much more seasoned singer by the time he got to the 60s. But that unabashed, completely free, I don't know what the hell I'm doing, it's all natural talent, just gives me chills every time. Even talking about right now, I just got the chills. So Detroit Rock City, to me, is one of the greatest rock songs of the 1970s. Forget about Kiss.
Without a doubt.
It's one of the great rock songs.
And the
that's
fact that it's a story. Kiss doesn't do stories. The fact that it's an excellent story and you can take it from where they left off from Alive by hearing Kiss doing rock and roll all night on the radio, and Bob coming up with this and the keys and all the stupid little background stories of him doing that. It is just their greatest masterpiece, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I'm a huge fan of Black Diamond, especially the live stuff. And I think I wrote also in your book that I think, to answer your questions before, or that discussion we were having about introducing Kiss, I think I wrote, if I was going to say to someone, so what's Kiss? What do you Kiss? I always play them the Midnight Special version of Black Diamond.
Yes.
Just play them that whole concert.
That whole show.
Insane.
Yep.
Oh, you know what I watched the other day? You guys talk about it all the time. That Winterland show.
Oh, the best.
It's so pristine. Anybody who says that, I understand Kiss Alive 2, a lot of studio stuff. Everybody did it. Peter Frampton, everybody did it. But they're playing their ass off. They could have released that as a live album and it would have been fine.
So I'm a big vinyl collector. My Kiss bootleg collection is embarrassingly gigantic. I have it, I wish it was. Maybe they just announced that they're going to start releasing more off the soundboard things. I have a bootleg of Winterland on vinyl, and it sounds pristine. It sounds like an official release by the band. It is flawlessly sounding. It is one of the most visually unbelievable black and white kit. We always joke, right. Skinny Gene is the best Gene.
Terrifying.
He's terrifying Gene. Yeah. James, before we wrap up, I kind of want to bring up one more point since you're like the Destroyer kind of expert here. But this isn't even really a Destroyer expert question. It's more of a Destroyer fan question. So we talked about Bob Ezrin leaving after Destroyer, and then we don't see him back until The Elder, which obviously is divisive on many levels. If they stuck with Ezrin, would we have gotten The Elder sooner than later? would that have come maybe right after Destroyer? Would Ezrin and the band have been so empowered to do different things that the Elder would have come out in 77?
That is a great question. I would say you could not write off anything with Ezrin, because at that point, remember, Bob was working with Alice as a solo act. The last record that Bob did, I believe, before he worked on Destroyer, was Welcome to My Nightmare, which, as Alice has told me many times, and I quoted him in my book, that he put all of his own money up and invested everything because the rest of the band did not want to go the extra mile. They were going to do a movie, they were going to do a play, they were going to do a TV show, they were going to do a record. He was trying to blow it out. So I think he probably would have counseled Kiss in that direction, and I think it would have been a natural progression. So maybe you're right. I've been asked this question a lot, and I've never considered The Elder in answering it, because because people said, well, you should have stuck with Ezrin. Yes, I think it would have been great, but I think you probably would have been stuck with a concept, because he did a concept with Alice Cooper, Goes to Hell after that.
Yep.
He did The Wall, which is clearly a concept. So yes, I think so. I think also, if I may say, I think it is a snapshot in time. Destroyer. Alice Cooper will admit this, and Bob has admitted it to me. His cocaine addiction became way more debilitating after that. I don't know if he could have worked with Kiss at that level. Like I said, it's just one of those moments, man. You know, it's one of those years like Roger Maris in 61. It's just one of those things where it was just a snapshot in time. Maris was never as good again. I'm not sure he would have been as good again. Or even maybe Kiss would have been as good again. I think it would be better if Kiss went the way they went.
He was
so
the
now
MVP
that you mentioned the
year before that, wasn't he?
What's that?
He was the MVP the year before that, right?
He was in 60. He was back to back. That is very true. But Ezrin was still the year before that. He did $1 Billion Babies in 73. I think maybe I'll give you this. Good point. I will say that Ezrin probably could have got one more record out of them before it started to affect him. Because it affected him so much that he and Alice broke up, and Alice Cooper went off and worked with David Foster, of all people, and Bernie Taupin for From the Inside. And Bob went on to do The Wall, which really broke him. And unfortunately, that's what Kiss got. They got a broken Bob Ezrin. I mean, Roger Waters broke him. That was if you read about the making of The Wall, it's one of the most depressing things ever. I mean, fired right in the middle of the thing. He put everybody on retainer. He wouldn't let Gilmore play on anything. Gilmore did one pass of Comfortably Numb. Do you know that? That's one shot. Because Gilmore couldn't take it anymore. Because you get one shot, and that's one of the most beautiful solos of all time.
I was just going to say it's arguably one of the greatest solos ever.
Yeah. But
speaking of biggest assholes of all time, let's move on from that piece of shit from Floyd. But for me, do you have any final thoughts you want to say about Destroyer?
No, I mean, we could do 20 shows on this. I'm sure no one wants to hear it, but I would love to talk to you guys always. No, I just, I love that period of Kiss. I was asked, mea culpa. I was asked dozens of times over the years, you must be a huge Kiss fan. You spent 4 years on a book and it's like, this many pages for one album. But I really, there was a time, right? From around Dress to Kill through around Rock and Roll Over. And then I got back into it with Dynasty a little bit. And then my brother got me a copy of The Elder for my birthday or Christmas time. I think it came out around Christmas time. And so I dug that. But there isn't a lot of there's not a lot of I really like The Elder. There's not a lot of periods of Kiss like you guys. I learned more from listening to this podcast, especially about the non-makeup era. I had no idea what's going on there. Yep. My friend Christopher, was a big fan of the show, and he and I talk about Kiss all the time, and he loves listening to you guys rap about this. He kept going. Nice. He kept going, and he would say to me, you got to listen to Lick It Up. You got it. And I remember when he gave me Revenge, and he was like, Ezrin's back. You have to listen to this. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, we want to keep you on because you know the show well enough. So what we're going to do now is we're going to keep you part of the show and answer our question of the week, Tom. What do you got?
Cool.
Yeah, so before we get to our question of the week, we do have to talk about who's bringing us the question of the week.
We got sponsors.
And we're big time, James. We're big time.
And he's a brother to you because he's in the Shout Out Loudcast Hall of Fame too.
All right.
That's right. That's right. So as always, our question of the week is brought to us by Shout Out Loudcast Hall of Famer, the great Tony Barone of ABCPA Inc. And ABCPA Inc. is an accounting firm located in Chicago. Tony will assist you in all of your tax and accounting needs for businesses. They can help you with starting your businesses, your financial statements, payroll tax returns, federal and state income tax returns, and so much more. For individuals, it can help you with your sole proprietorships, rental real estate, trust and estate returns, and, of course, your federal and state income tax returns. And because they have access to all 50 states, geography is not an issue with ABCPA Inc. Zeus. So whether you live in...
Let's go where James is. New York.
Or
I'm not sure, but he gave me a look. Maybe he's in New Jersey?
Yes.
There you go. I thought so. Because I remembered, like you were saying, you were driving to meet us in New York. So New Jersey, New York, same trash states. No matter what. It's all good.
So, of course, regardless of where you live, ABCPA can take care of you. They can do it all for you. Please call our buddy Tony at 708-430-3232. Visit his website at abcpainc.com. Again, 708-430-3232. And Tony is not just a friend and a Shout It Out Loudcast Hall of Famer, but we've done business with him for the last few years. He's amazing, responsive, timely. The guy's the best, and he's a huge Kiss fan, and he's a huge Rush fan, too. So he gets extra bonus points from me.
Ace wanted to chime in, too. I'm sorry, buddy.
And I have over 2,000 comments on YouTube.
I don't know why. That just makes me laugh.
So with that being said, our question of the week, I've been putting this on hold since I knew James was going to be on. So this is a great question of the week.
Oh, okay.
Because we've kind of not touched on exactly this, but it's adjacent to our conversation here. And this comes from our friend over in Finland, our buddy Jani Aslak Rasanen.
The hockey player.
He says, yeah, he's no Teemu Selänne, but that's okay. He says, I know Tom is a Love Gun guy, and I know Zeus, like me, is a Destroyer guy. If Eddie Kramer had continued as a producer after Kiss Alive and produced Destroyer, and Bob Ezrin comes in and does Love Gun, what do you think would have happened to the evolution of the band, and how would those records differ from the ones that came out? James, you take this one to start.
Wow. It's so hard. It's like, I always look at history, any kind of history, as a domino theory. So I'm not sure you get to Love Gun without Bob, and everything happens for a reason, that kind of thing. So this is a tough one for me. I will say this right off the bat, in all respect to you, Tom, and my friend Chris is a huge fan of Love Gun, who might be his favorite Kiss album as well. That album sounds kind of thin to me. I think it can be bolstered. It doesn't sound as strong to me.
I will agree with you.
Bassy or ballsy. So maybe he could have done something with that. I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine. The only reason I can't imagine this as an answer is because Bob co-wrote 7 of the 9 songs. Mm-hmm. He chose Gene to sing God of Thunder. He brought in King of the Nighttime World from that band, the Hollywood Stars. He rewrote completely Beth from that warbled tape that Peter Criss gave him. He completely wrote Shout Out Loud with Gene and Paul on a piano in his apartment. So I'm not sure. You guys have said this many times. Some of you, I know you, Tom, prefer Eddie Kramer, but you do agree with, I think, Zeus and I in that Bob's the one guy who wrote with them and produced with them.
Yeah.
So that's a tough one. I don't know if you could get there, but that's my kind of half answer. I don't know if I did well there, but
okay. I'll answer it in saying that Bob would have ruined Love Gun. He would have tried to fuck up Shock Me somehow. But you're right. I will agree. The one for all the stuff I love about Love Gun, and I will fully admit I do like Then She Kissed Me. I'm not going to lie. I think it's actually kind of a cool version. I don't go to it, but it doesn't sound as thick and heavy as Rock and Roll Over, even though Eddie produced both. I think Destroyer. I mean, if we take it, if we just look at the songs, I'm kind of looking at production and not songwriting. Because you're right. If you take Ezra out of Destroyer, you lose half the songs. But I think Eddie Kramer producing Destroyer, I don't know. It would have been a hell of a lot raw and stripped down. Like those songs, you wouldn't have had that cinematic stuff. You wouldn't have had those background singers. You wouldn't have had the calliope. You wouldn't have had all those things. You would have just had a stripped down raw garage band version of Kiss, like you kind of had on Rock and Roll Over. But that aside, you're right. The trajectory of the band, who knows what would have happened. I think everything happened the way it should have happened to continue the band. Zeus.
I think with Bob Ezrin out of Destroyer, you would get what's the Destroyer box set, all those demos, those raw demos. That's what you're going to get. And if you think those raw demos are even close to as good as what's on Destroyer, you're insane. Right. I think Ezrin is a song guy. He'll fix those songs. I think Eddie Kramer's coming in and go, what do you got? All right, I can fix this. I can make that sound louder. I can do this. I can do that.
Yes.
So you're going to get the Paul Stanley version of God of Thunder, which isn't bad. It's a fucking stripped down rock song. I love it too.
Yeah.
The demo version of Detroit Rock City, which is on the box set. You're going to get all those demo type versions.
Yeah.
they're not going to sound as good. They'll sound more raw, dressed to kill type of production kind of on there, but that's not going to sound as good. Now, what is Ezra going to do to Love Gun? He's going to throw fucking Almost Human right out of the fucking song list, right?
No, he isn't. He's probably gonna add like howling werewolf sounds or something. Like,
or little demon kids in the background. And like chomping sounds like the ant, like Gene's eating them or something. I don't know, but like I could only imagine, and I'll be 100% honest with you, how good if he got to tinker around with Love Gun, the song. I think
the song Love Gun
and the sound, what he could probably get out of Love Gun, the song. Oh, and I bet you I Stole Your Love will have some theatrics to it.
Nothing. You can't make that song better. Period.
I disagree. I think sonically he can do some stuff, especially Love Gun. I would have loved to seen him help Paul with that song a little bit, but who knows?
You know what he would have done? You know what he would have done with I Stole Your Love? During the outro of that song, you would have gotten "I Stole Your Love." You would have gotten background singers like you did in Flaming Youth, and James would have loved it.
And you maybe get two solos in that song.
I just want to say one of the funniest things I've ever heard on the show a couple weeks ago is when Tom was nonplussed with Zeus's when he brought up hooligan, and he goes, "What's with the hooligan hate?" I laughed my butt off the whole time.
I can't.
That song is horrendous.
Which is hilarious because Zeus loves Peter. I know the lyrics
stupid.
It is.
It's so. It just. I'm a.
Which I think
it's like describing somebody like
go to
you're
school again.
Yeah, like you're a doofus. Like these are just terms that are so old.
And who's in school at 22? Anyway, so
like,
the last thing.
Go ahead.
I did want to say a Bob thing in closing.
Yeah, please.
I think one thing about Ezrin was he had a sound, no question. Like you listen to a record that's produced by Prince, we mentioned it before, or produced by George Martin, you're going to get that sound. Now, Todd Rundgren produced Meatloaf's record, Bat Out of Hell. It doesn't sound anything like Todd Rundgren records or the other stuff he produced. But as I said before, Bob produced The Babies, and it doesn't sound anything like The Wall, which is theatrical. He produced that Peter Gabriel, and it does have like some strings on there, like Salisbury Hill, but he could have pivoted. I think. And he told me himself, he goes, if they just would have talked to me, if they didn't try to go behind my back and get Jack Douglas, if they didn't send me a letter saying you're killing us, if there wasn't this whole, everybody was into it, then the critics came out, and then they all abandoned me. If they would have come to me, I'm a professional, I would have curtailed he goes, because the spirit was there. Gene and Paul were into the calliope. They were into the strings. They would have said, listen, we can't do another strings. Maybe you would have had a ballsier, stronger. The songs would have been better, and he wouldn't have gone the theatrical way. He could have pivoted. I'm not saying it's impossible. Like I said, you have to consider also his cocaine habit. But, yeah, I think he would have pivoted. He's a pro.
You also got to understand, he's doing theatrical shit because he's working with Kiss and Alice Cooper. Right? He's not working with fucking the Bee Gees. Like, you know what I mean? Right. Like, oh, we're the Bee Gees and pretend we're superheroes. Like, no, not with those teeth. You're not.
Right.
Oh, like,
good point. Yeah.
So you got Kiss. You're going to be doing crazy shit, like adding your kids on walkie-talkies, acting like demons and little stuff. Like that stuff you can expand your mind, right? And do things like that. Anyway, that's what I think. Tom, where can people find us?
Yeah, so we always tell people go to our website, shoutitoutloudcast.com. That you can find everything all about the show, all of our episodes, all of our links. You can find links to our Amazon shopping, links to our Amazon page for Shout Out Loudcast merch, and of course, links to the book, Raise Your Glasses, links to all of our social media, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Threads, TikTok, Blue Sky, whatever the hell that thing is called. That's all there. The website's the best place to go. And, of course, our email at shoutitoutloudcast@gmail.com. And, of course, we always like to tell people that we're a proud member of the Pantheon Podcast network of shows. And before we pass over plugs to our buddy James, want to do one more shout out to our sponsor, Magic Mind. Remember, check them out at magicmind.com. Use the promo code SOL20. Get 20% off your purchase. Trust me, Magic Mind will get you through your day and your night. You won't be disappointed. Again, magicmind.com/SOL20.
DM us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Threads, TikTok, motherfucker. Check out our Spotify playlist, not our podcast. You go to the profile and you can check those out. Subscribe to our YouTube channel.
YouTube.
And give us one of those 5-star child reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you can. It's a big help to the show. And make sure you go on to Amazon, give us a 5-star review there for our book, Raise Your Glasses, and James's book, if you find it, in all of his books, actually, and go, especially the one Shout It Out Loud, right there. You find it on James Campion, right on Amazon.com, and give him a 5-star review for his excellent book as well. We always end with famous last words, but before we do that, we'd like to give James an opportunity to tell us where we can get his stuff and get more James Campion material.
Yeah, no, of course, as you mentioned, Zeus, thank you. All my books are on Amazon and on Barnes & Noble. You can find them in bookstores. I always like to support independent bookstores. So if you have one near you and they don't always carry everything because they have limited space, just ask them and they'll order it and it'll be great. And of course, jamescampion.com. Anybody who wants to order a book, I'll sign it to you, your father, your brother, any Kiss fan in your life. And if you live in the continental U.S., I will mail it to you for free. If you don't, check with me and I'll try to find out what the shipping is. I've had people from all over the world pony it up because they want a signed copy, so I will sign it and put anything you want in there as well. So thank you both again. And I will have to say, no one gets to see this, but Tom, I'm digging the beard.
Oh,
full
thanks,
winter
James.
beard. Little salt and pepper. Looks really nice.
This is the longest. I'm pushing 3 months here. This is by far the longest I've ever gone with it. So, yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
And I'm clean shaven, so that doesn't happen normally.
I know. That's wild. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know.
So
and congrats again on the book. It's excellent. I've been telling everybody. I hope it's still doing well. Everybody go get Raise Your Glasses. It really was an honor and a privilege to write for it and have my little blurbs in there. And I love reading everybody else's. So thank you.
It was
our honor to have you part of it. Thank you, James.
Yeah, you were a great
absolutely.
big help to us, and we really appreciate it. So we always end on famous last words. James, do you have any famous last words from any Kiss song you want to do?
I wish I could remember the opening lines of the reporter. You know, with the kid dying. I don't know.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but the one that I it's boring, but I think it's so great. It was on when I opened up my record and I pulled the sleeve out. It had "Get Up, Everybody Gonna Leave Their Feet," and I just absolutely love that. Get up and everybody's gonna leave their seat. Just another great part of a wonderful song, and the real impetus for me. Two inspirations to write that book is how much I love Detroit Rock City, and I wanted to push and get Kiss in the intellectual critique conversation, and I wanted to beat Bob Ezrin, and I got to do both, and that's, it all starts with me opening up that record and seeing those two lines that was like, ooh, I think I'm gonna really dig this. Yeah,
perfect, love it, perfect.
Tom?
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna go to one of the songs that I always go to on Destroyer that some people don't really dig, and that is "Do You Love Me?" and those opening lyrics. You really like my limousine. You like the way the wheels roll. You like my 7-inch leather heels and going to all the shows. But
nice butt. Yeah.
So good. So
great
good.
Kim Fowley. Yeah.
Yes. Zeus.
All right.
Great.
My leathers fit tight around me. Whip is always beside me. You want the same thing every day. I'll teach you love a different way. It didn't take till about 2-3 years ago that I realized Sweet Pain was about S&M, because I never really got the lyrics and anything. I didn't know what the fuck he was singing. I just, Sweet Pain. Okay, wonderful. Anyway, the great James Campion, can't thank you enough. Tom, Kiss Army, Loudcasters, thank you.
James, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. This is exactly what we wanted. We're so thrilled to have you on again, and we love having you on. It's always a pleasure and a joy, and to have you make this show a little bit smarter than it normally is.
So you guys keep it up. You're doing a great job. You make my weeks when I listen to you, whether I'm going for my walks or in the car. You always make me laugh. I play the real funny stuff for my daughter. She gets a kick out of it.
Oh, no.
And I keep doing the work. You're doing a great job. Yeah.
Thank you, James. And Zeus, as always, my friend, thank you, brother.
Peace out, Girl Scout. Hit the music. What I'd like now is for all you fat, out-of-shape, worldwide kiss-tards to keep the noise down while I show your ladies what a real sexy man looks like.
Listen, all you people out there sitting on rented furniture, settle down.
Cut the music. Anybody seen Richie? Anybody know why Richie did Bobby Lupo?